There is a haunting new video out today that importantly, and in a way that really hits home for a lot of parents and kids and people who love parents and kids, highlights the reality of back-to-school season in America, the tragic growing crisis of gun violence that students across our country face over and over and over again when they're back in school. The video is from the nonpartisan Their Future PAC, which says it aims to be a voice in Washington, D.C. for children and to help elect leaders who support stronger gun safety legislation. A warning before we show some of it to you. It is dark, it is ominous, and it comes with its own viewer discretion warning. But it was made, the PAC says, quote, purposely provocative, so that we, and specifically leaders in Washington, D.C., don't ever become desensitized to gun violence and fears of gun violence, which is, according to the CDC today, the leading cause of death for children and teens in America. Watch. Joining our conversation is Dr. Annie Andrews. She's a pediatrician and the founder and CEO of Their Future, Our Vote. She's also a mom. This is her first interview about the group's new video, which was released today. We're also joined by one of the newest members of Congress working to represent and lift voices from being silenced, our good friend, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. Basil is still with us. Annie, Dr. Andrews, take us through first, let me just say, I watched this ad. It was sent to me by our mutual friend, Fred Guttenberg, and I watched it on the street after drop-off the first day of school, and I gasped. And I gasped so audibly that people around me turned and asked me if I was okay. It is tragic that it is necessary, but I do agree that it is. Take me through the strategy behind the message.
Yeah, so like you, I'm a mom of 3 school-age children, and I'm also a pediatrician and a gun violence prevention researcher and advocate. And I've been working to address this public health crisis that is gun violence in our country for a long time. Something has to change. And we knew as an organization at Their Future PAC that we had to do something that would break through the noise and would get the attention of the people whose attention we need to get, which is our lawmakers in Washington, D.C., who are weak and lack the moral courage to address this problem, and voters. I ran for Congress in 2022, and I met so many moderate, white suburban women who are fed up with thinking about their children being shot in the classroom. And we have to reach across the aisle, get those folks to understand that they need to channel the fear and the rage that they feel whenever they hear about their children's active shooter drills or they hear about yet another school shooting. They need to channel that rage into action. And that means voting out the politicians who refuse to address this problem.
The effort to engage the country around gun safety as a public health issue and the data that is undeniable that gun violence is the leading cause of death of children and teens feels like an opportunity to sort of shake the kaleidoscope and change the conversation from this loggerhead. But I always like to remind folks that the public isn't particularly divided on gun safety legislation. 85% of all Americans support some of the things that are being proposed. And let me just read the agenda quickly. The Kids First Gun Violence Prevention Plan includes an assault weapons ban supported by a majority of Americans, universal background checks. I think that's got upward of 80% support from the public. Secure storage laws is even higher than that. Red flag laws, upward of 80% of all Americans support those. Increased funding for hospital and community violence intervention programs. Wide majorities of Americans support that. What is the impediment to passing the entirety of the Kids First majority agenda?
It's Republican lawmakers who are bought and paid for by the NRA and the firearms industry. I think we learned from Tennessee that we cannot continue to try to have earnest conversations with Republican lawmakers at the federal or the state level. That is not going to get us there. We have to vote them out. And if they understand that they will be voted out if they don't get in line with the majority of Americans on this issue, then they will come to the right side of this issue. So we have to address this at the ballot box. And if we can elect a Kids First majority to Congress, which is our goal as an organization, then we can pass these laws that the majority of Americans want. And we can finally start to address this problem in a comprehensive, meaningful way.
Congresswoman Crockett, there are things that divide Americans. Guns, abortion, and democracy are not among them. Why isn't every sentence those three words, those three issues, and the powerful reality that only one party in this country stands with the vast majority of Americans?
Yeah, first of all, let me just applaud the effort. This is amazing. This is necessary, and I look forward to working very closely with y'all to make sure that we get some amazing help in Congress. You know, every opportunity that the Democrats get, we're talking about gun safety. Every time they want to waste taxpayer dollars chasing some random rabbit and not doing what they said they were going to do, which are the basic things like working on safety issues, working on the economy. And instead, they decide that they want to go and do something that seemingly may earn them a little bit more support from the twice impeached 91 count felonious ex-president, right? We decide to always redirect to the issues. And you know, what's interesting is that we continually bring up this fact that the #1 killer of children in this country right now is gun violence. And do you know what the retort typically is? It's something that you would never guess. They would say, no, that's not true, because obviously we don't believe in facts, data, and science, at least when it comes to that side of the aisle. They say the #1 killer of children is abortion. That is what they do. They never address what we're talking about. And then they talk about, well, mental health. Well, guess what? The Democrats, in a very courageous way, tried to do something last session, and they made sure that they made the investments when it came down to mental health. But I'm going to be honest with you. It is just patently false to act as if every single one of these issues is because of mental health issues. And beyond the fact that the Republicans failed to do anything that is helpful, the biggest issue that I have is that they are continuing to perpetuate the hate that stokes these types of events. Instead of helping, they are contributing to the harm that we see taking place at our schools and beyond.
Basil, I mean, the Congressman was right. I mean, Democrats have been working on mental health parity coverage from a health insurance perspective since the 90s. That's right. Since the early 90s. I mean, the notion that Republicans answered to doing nothing on universal background checks, safe storage, red flag laws, which have anywhere from 60 to 90% support among all Americans. It doesn't even divide Republicans, certainly not Republican women. You know, it is ludicrous, but they do succeed at making it look like a teeter-totter. These are not teeter-totter issues. These are vast majority issues for most Americans.
That's right. And the more we deal with this, the more they hit home for more Americans. When there was an active shooter at the campus of UNC, one of my childhood friends was sending his daughter there for the first day of school, and I had to reach out to him and make sure that he and she were okay. So this is something that we are all having.
I had a friend last spring whose daughter was in a lockdown on her college campus, and we were all on a thread making sure she was okay. At this point in America, everyone has been through this. It has
been touched. And, you know, I look at that sort of intersection between politics and policy. There's always this window where we have an opportunity to act. And one of my students said to me yesterday, with respect to gun violence, that opportunity and that window has been closing more and more quickly over each successive incident, which suggests that we are becoming more and more desensitized to this. It is becoming more and more normal. And when I think about that, it's not that we're having conversations about gun control. I'm hearing more people talking about, I got to go get a gun too. And that's what's so scary to me.